In the past 15 years or so, there's been an explosion of online educational content. Whether people are learning how to knit a scarf or pursuing a degree in computer science, a lot of them are doing it by watching videos online. And online videos can be an appealing way to disseminate medical learning as well. But for a lot of clinician educators, video production is pretty uncomfortable territory. So you might be left feeling like you have to choose between very expensive professional video production or very low-quality homemade video production. This video is intended to address that need and to demonstrate how to make short, effective, and relatively polished educational videos without spending much money. So a little bit of a roadmap for the video. First, we'll talk about pre-production, planning the video, gathering equipment, and choosing a location. Then we'll talk about production, how you actually make your educational content. And then we'll talk about post-production, or editing. The first step, and arguably the most important step in any video, is planning. And for educational videos, that starts with a good lesson plan. So there are lots of excellent resources here on the Mite website for lesson planning, and I'd encourage you to check those out. Once you've decided on your learning objectives, you need to choose a visual language for the video. And there are a number of approaches to this. You can use video of a person talking, like I'm doing right now. This is sometimes called a talking head. And this can be personal, but sometimes it can be helpful to have other visuals as well. Some people use what I would call the Khan Academy approach, where they use a tablet to record themselves making drawings. A low-budget alternative, or simple alternative, is to just use a whiteboard and record what you're drawing on the whiteboard. Or another basic approach, but one that can be effective at times, is to use the record slideshow feature of PowerPoint, or a similar feature in Apple Keynote, to simply show your slides and record your voice over the top of them. I don't think that there's a one-size-fits-all approach for selecting a visual language. I think it really depends on what your content is, your learning objectives, who your audience is, and what you think is going to best tell the story that you want. The next step is to gather your equipment. If you're filming something in the real world, not just the digital world, you'll need a camera. And this video is being filmed on an entry-level digital SLR camera. A lot of these come with pretty good quality HD video. But a lot of us are also walking around these days with pretty good quality HD video recording capacity in our pockets. For those of you interested in smartphone-based video production, I'm including a link to an online guide on the topic here. The next piece of equipment you'll need is an external microphone. Most of the time, the built-in microphone on your camera or your phone is not really going to do the job because it's just too far away from the mouth of the person who's speaking. So for this video, I'm using a lavalier mic that attaches to my lapel here. And it's fairly inexpensive, cost me less than $25. And as you can see, I can get it quite close to my mouth and get reasonably good quality audio. The other piece of equipment you'll really want to think about is lighting equipment. And there are really a couple of options here. You can buy a lighting kit. Usually this would be 3 lights that you set up before you film. And that gives you the flexibility to create polished looking video in a variety of locations. But for those just starting out, sometimes a more attractive solution is to use ambient light, which is what I'm actually doing right now. And if that's the case, you will just want to think about, in terms of equipment, something to reflect the light. Other equipment you're likely to need is a computer of some type for editing your video, a tripod, and if you're doing the Khan Academy approach, you'll likely need a tablet. So you've made your plan, you've gathered materials, now it's time to actually record your footage. And one of the most important factors in how your footage looks if you're filming in the real world is the lighting. So I mentioned that you can use a lighting kit or ambient light. Either way, the classic teaching on video lighting is to use what's called 3-point lighting. So there's 3 light sources. One is the main light source called the key light. You have a secondary source of light that prevents shadows from forming on the opposite side of the person's face. And then the third source of light is a backlight that gives a little extra depth. If you're using ambient light, you kind of recreate this. So here I'm standing by a window, which is on my left side. On the right, I have this whiteboard, which is reflecting light back at me and preventing there from being shadows here. And I skipped the backlight, but that can be another helpful tool. Some lighting pitfalls to avoid include having your primary source of light behind the subject of the video, or using overhead lights, which can create unflattering and distracting shadows. So you've collected all your footage, now you want to edit it into a final product. If you're just starting out, I recommend using a user-friendly and inexpensive or free platform to do so. On Apple, there's iMovie, or on PC, there's something like Windows Movie Maker. There are many other options as well. You can really be creative in this step and try to use all the tools you have, different segments of video, images, audio, to tell the story you want to tell. Another advantage to using these other visual tools like B-roll or still images is that they can cover up splices in your video. So if you have suddenly a cut from one segment that you need to splice together to another segment, it can be kind of jarring. But if you cover up that splice with a video or a picture, suddenly it's much more smooth. So that's really it for this basic how-to guide. To summarize, you want to start with a clear lesson plan and clear objectives. You want to develop a visual language for your video and think about what's going to convey your information as clearly as possible. You want to select a location and gather your equipment, and in particular, think about a tripod, an external microphone, and a solution for lighting. Then you film your footage, gather your other visual tools, and edit it all together. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and happy video making.